Beau is afraid. Yeah, finally getting to this. Well, don't blame me. Blame the fact that it took a lifetime for this movie to hit Showtime slash Paramount Plus, which is where A24 has about half of their titles going from this year. And then, like, the other half is they have a deal where it switches over to Max, where they're going to start putting their titles on Max. So, but I think at least through You've Hurt My Feelings, You Hurt My Feelings, which is scheduled to premiere in January on Paramount Plus. At least through that, I don't know exactly which film is making the flip, but I do know that the last couple, like Iron Claw and Zone of Interest, and Priscilla, are all going to be going to Max. Maybe with a shorter window, maybe not. I don't know. But this is directed by Ari Aster. In case you didn't know, in case the fans online didn't let you know that Ari Aster was directing this, he is. Uh, he's got fans. you you don't have to go very far to find somebody who is absolutely in love with Ari Aster as a director right now. And he hasn't even directed that many films. Hereditary, Midsummer, and Beau's Afraid. Aside from like short films, I mean feature-length films, the films that people are actually using as a basis to call him the next greatest thing. It's really a small list. Um, and it stars Joaquin Phoenix as Beau, who is afraid, and it also stars Patti LuPone, who is absolutely amazing in this. Amazing, amazing. Nathan Lane. Uh, it's got uh, Richard Karn is like on the phone for most of the film. Parker Posey's in this. Amy Ryan. It's actually got like a really sort of weird cast where I'm like, why are you guys in this? Then again, he got Toni Collette to saw her head off in Hereditary, so mad props. But yeah, he just gets people to show up for films. I did not expect Nathan Lane to be in this though. It's such a weird film for him to be in. He's good in it. Um, and it does have audio description. Unfortunately, Paramount Plus just gets me out of the film. I swear, like something was happening. Like I didn't even fully realize the film was over. Audio description was still going, and I'm like being pulled into another title, and I was like, no, what? You. I think this is Roy Samuelson, so I'm going to call it out and name it. Oftentimes, narrators, I can't just ask them because they have documents that they sign. So I'm just going to name it. I'm going to be like, it sounds like Roy Samuelson. So I'd be shocked if it wasn't. And I feel like 95% on this one, so I'm calling it. I don't know who did the narration in terms of the company, but there you go. This is definitely a film you don't want to watch without audio description. Don't even try. I knew it. I like. Don't do it. This is a trip. This is an absolute trip. This is, if Homer was around and he had just written an Odyssey and Ari Aster came up to him and was like, "Hey Homer, I got something I want you to check out," and Homer was like, "I just wrote this book. Why don't you take a look?" They'd have like a really great conversation about the things that they just wrote for each other. Like Ari Aster could probably just show him the screenplay. I don't know if he'd understand it, but or you could show him the movie. I think he'd be blown away by the existence of a film, but once he got around to the story, he'd be like, "Wow, you and I, we think alike." And then James Joyce could get in here with his Ulysses stuff, and they could all just have a great conversation about sending people on wild, wild, wild rides. Wild rides. Um, I I respect this film a lot more than I have Astor's previous efforts. Actually, I haven't even seen Midsummer, so I should say more than Hereditary. I've never really gotten the hype of Hereditary. Yes, Toni Collette is good in it, but Toni Collette is good in a lot of things that she hasn't won awards for. That's the thing about Toni Collette, is that she only has one nomination. It was for The Sixth Sense, and she deserves a lot more than that. It's very sort of disconcerting when you look at her body of work, and you can point out probably 5 or 6 performances of hers where you'd be like, why wasn't she in the... She just seems to fly consistently under the radar. So yeah, she's a fantastic actress, and it doesn't take anything away from that. So, wasn't a fan of it. This is long. It's long, and it didn't need to be this long. There's a section of the film I would have cut. I cut the whole section. I think it drags. I think it slows the film down. I don't think it does anything for the film. He could have at least made it shorter, bare minimum. Even if you wanted us to have that experience, I, I, I was like, is he trying to put me to sleep? Is he? Because the pace of the film and how he's got you on pins and needles throughout a lot of it, because he keeps throwing you these weird curveballs where things are happening. I gotta tell you, Jeeves is one of the weirdest fucking characters ever in cinema. And I don't know what to say else about that. He has virtually no lines. That dude just pops up though, and even in the audio description, you feel like he's staring into your soul, and you're just like, what is going on with this film? And I liked it. I liked it a lot more than Hereditary. I thought he had a lot more vision here. I thought he wanted to do something different. I don't know where Bo lives, but move, dude. Fucking move. Like, you have to suspend your disbelief, because no one would live here. No one would live where Bo lives. Like, they start describing this film up at the top, and I'm like, what is this place that Bo lives in? Where is he? Move, bro. Of course, the film isn't really great at telling you what Bo does for a living, how he gets money, or anything like that. So, you basically kind of have to figure that one out for yourself. And what am I doing here? That's embarrassing. Thank you, my ghetto stand. In the middle of my review, you basically have to figure out for yourself little things like he's booking a flight and it doesn't go through. Nothing really happens well for Bo in his life, and but he also doesn't really have anything going on. You know, we're established from the beginning in a really unique way, and then we time jump to him as basically as an adult, and his life is already set the way that it is, so he is already afraid. Like the whole film, his life is just this giant, crazy plane of existence. I don't know. It seems unlike anything you could ever possibly live on. Like, this is not real. It's very hyper realized for your entertainment purposes. And that's what Astor's trying to bring to it. He's trying to bring this sense of, I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for the ride. Which is why I was bringing up things like The Odyssey and Ulysses, is because those feel like, yep, let's go, let's do this. I have no, but I would never do this. There's a lot of choices that I would have made differently if I was Bo, like not living there to begin with. I think this movie would have been far more interesting if Ari had been able to present Bo living in an idyllic life and still being afraid of everything. He puts people he puts Bo in a situation where it's so nightmarish, where he's like running into things where you're like, I would move. Like, why are you here? I would literally just become nomadic and just leave. I'd walk out. Even if I didn't even have the money to move, I'd go find someone's couch to crash on somewhere else, go live in the woods somewhere. I don't know. This dude lives in hell, basically. at the beginning of the film, and the people around him, no one's normal. There isn't a single normal person that's ever presented to Bo, and this could all just be how Bo perceives it, but it's also because Ari doesn't feel like defining where Bo lives. It's very important to note that this could also be very true, or at least partially true. So, not necessarily how Bo perceives it. As the film moves on, though, we get more and more weird encounters, and he does kind of get pulled out, and stuff still is weird for Bo. He never really truly meets normal people in this film. No one in this film is normal. I guess that's a spoiler, but no one in this film is truly what we would call societally normal. Like, just things are happening the way they're supposed to happen for everyone else. There's always something that's a little off kilter about everybody, and it throws Bo off. So even when he feels safer, there's something not quite right. So I enjoy that part of the journey. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I should say that part of the journey, the reason why he's on a journey, I have to kind of spoil that, is he's trying to get home to his mom. That's all I'll say about that. He's trying to get home to his mom, and that's all you get. I don't want to spoil anything else having to do with that. So, yeah, it's a weird film. It's going to be a film that you love or hate. It's probably going to be, I would say, easily his most divisive film because it's not straight horror all the way through. Actually, this is, if you don't like horror films, but you want to see something of Ari Aster's to kind of get his vibe, this would be your film to start with, because the other two are definitively horror films, and you can't get around that. There's no getting around those films being horror. This film is, at times, horrifying, but it's also at times unsettling, unnerving, questioning. It doesn't really let you totally off the hook. There is a segment, gotta say, where it does kind of, and I got kind of bored when we went into the woods. I'm not gonna be, I'm gonna be totally honest. I was like, what's happening? Oh, okay. Ari's got some thoughts. I don't think those thoughts worked out as well as he wanted them to. Sometimes you get this problem a little bit when you have somebody who's brilliant and they write and direct their own pieces, because they have there's no one there to filter the ideas. Some people do it really well, obviously, but it can be very hit and miss. Woody Allen even does this. Woody Allen has a lot of films that are absolute dog shit. Totally, just 100%, just absolutely terrible films. Where he writes something, he's like, this is a good idea, I'm gonna make this into a film. And then everybody's like, this was awful, what are you talking about? And you wonder, like, how did studios give this money? It can be like that sometimes if you have nobody to tell you no, or nobody to see what it was that you were trying to do on page and then filter it into a way that makes more sense. Because clearly Ari had a vision from beginning to end, and it started on page and it ended with the final cut of the film. So everything to him was always awesome. Everything to him was, he could probably clearly see what he wanted to do the whole way through. Now, whether or not there was a better way of doing it, or maybe some stuff that didn't work without somebody there to tell him or to filter that, which is sometimes why writer-directors, when they're different, you get sometimes better work. Not to I mean, Alexander Payne has done some stuff where he's written and directed some stuff really good this year, but he's getting a lot of praise this year for just directing The Holdovers and not writing and directing The Holdovers. So, something that's interesting there. If you look at Charlie Kaufman, for example, I'm not a big fan of Synecdoche, New York, but he also wrote the script adaptation. So when you filter adaptation through another director, it works really well. And it doesn't always mean that somebody can't write direct. It just kind of puts that question mark when there is no one to filter. Honestly, it's the same way I feel about what Netflix is doing to a lot of directors. I think they're just giving them money and then saying, give me product. And they're not going through the whole, what studios do where they test films, have pre-screenings. I don't think they do that. I think they might do it for like Maestro as an Oscar film, but a lot of these films are just kind of throwing money at people and saying, give me a film and let's put it out. And they're not really concerned about, is this the best work that this person could have put out? Is this the best cut? Is this the best final cut? Can we push more out of it? You know, all of those answers never get answered. So, yeah, I think Roy's narration on this is absolutely essential. I can't describe that enough. There are things in here that don't take place in the real world. It's a very outside the box film where the world is just all over the place visually. Things happen that don't make any sense. Things that he reads, things that he sees that don't necessarily make sound but are integral to the plot of the film at the time. There's a scene early on where people keep sliding letters under his door and he's reading them. He's not reading them aloud because why would you do that? You're the only one in your house. So, yeah, we have to be able to read the letters in order to understand the context. Just a bunch of different things like that. There are things throughout the film. Not everything makes sense. Even with audio description, there were things that happened. There was like this bathtub wrestling sequence where I was like, how big is this bathtub? You know? I was like, I'm a big dude and ain't nobody gonna be able to get a bathtub with me and then also fight, like wrestle or whatever, like flip me over and put me under. I can't put myself underwater in a bathtub. So it is I can safely fall asleep in a bathtub and not have to worry about drowning. Let's just say that. I am fine. So to me, conceptually, a bathtub fight sequence makes no sense. Because I'm trying to imagine how two people could be in a bathtub and then them have room to like rotate and put the other one underwater. I'm like, how big is this bathtub? So, and I know Ari is trying to, it may not even be a real world. This could just all be fantasy. You know, just some giant fantasy. This is take what you want out of this film. But yeah, I just, there were some things where I was just like, I don't know what you're doing here, but I kind of liked it. I really actually kind of like this film. Joaquin, his performance here is fine. It's weird to call this film a comedy because most of the time he's just generally terrified, and I didn't find that funny. And then the stuff finally with his, when his mother comes into play, I wouldn't call that funny. There's like one thing in this film that is like so outside of the box towards the end that you can't help but call it comedy. And I get that. But that does not necessarily make the entire film comedy. It's like we don't know what to do with this as a film. So we didn't know where to put it. So the Golden Globes were like comedy. And I even saw on IMDb's list, they have it they have like a list of the top comedies of the year, and I was like, I didn't laugh at all. Uh, Not one bit. I I felt like Ari was constantly throwing things at me to like sense resensitize me, not desensitize, but like just sort of like make sure that I'm alive and awake. And the total opposite of that. I guess I guess people could giggle, but people have giggled in films before that are not comedies. I mean, just because they people giggle when they're nervous and they don't know what to do. So, I don't know. I wouldn't call this a comedy, but it is what it is. It's an A24 film, so it's gonna have fans. It's an Ari Aster film, so it's gonna have fans. And I liked it more than Hereditary. So I've never recommended Hereditary. I always use that as an example of a film where I'm wildly different from everyone else. I saw problems where people saw genius. Here I see a lot of attempts at genius. I think probably 15 minutes shorter might have made a tighter film and still given him the kind of experience he wanted his audience to have. I think he pushes it just a little bit too far. Um, but it's a bold statement. It's a very much an auteur's choice and film, and it's not for everybody. I can't even recommend this to people. I don't even know. Like, if this is your thing, go for it. If you're questioning whether or not it's your thing and you don't mind spoilers, then search and see whether or not you think this is might be your thing, whether or not you can sit through it. And just go from there. But it really this one is definitely not for everybody. But for the people that it is for, I'm sure they loved it. I'm sure they loved the hell out of it. I'm sure there are people out there that think this is the best picture of the year, and I would validate that for them, because I can see why they would think that. It's one of the boldest directorial choices we've seen this year, and if it wasn't for the fact that I think there's this whole woods sequence that drags to ever-loving shit, I would say Ari Aster deserves a director's nomination, because just for vision alone, being able to put this together, I just wish that he had asked more people than himself before submitting the final cut of the film, as to whether or not his pacing made sense and everything, and all the ideas came together. So it fell a little bit short for me, but I a lot of love, a lot of respect, but and definitely, I can't imagine this is not going to be on my best supporting actress list of the year. So yeah, this is well, let's see. Anyway, I'm gonna give Beau is Afraid a B plus. Look at that, guys. I'm on the positive side. So I can't. But The Woods, if it wasn't for The Woods, I might be looking at a top 10 film. I was totally down for it, but it just, goddamn, it drags. It just drags so badly. He just. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please click that subscribe button. I am so close. There's so few days left in the year, and I think I want to be above 200. It would be great if I could get 4 more subscribers. Like, I saw somebody on Twitter the other day begging for 200 subscribers. And I was like, come on, bro. By the end of the year. I was like, I need 4. I would like to be actually above 200. 201 would be nice and safe. So that just in case somebody at the last minute decides to unsubscribe for me, I'm still at 200 as of January 1st. So 4 people, please join my channel. Join me on this journey of talking about audio description, being a blind film critic, and all that good stuff. I also have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at macthemovieguy. You can go to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what does have audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it. I can I can spend time on something else now. Saltburn comes out today on Prime. That'll be a fun experience. Anyway, I'll review something else and see you guys on the other side.